All right, welcome back to Edu Steps, folks, the podcast powered by Laddering Your Success, where we help you navigate the journey of education and life. I'm your host, Olay Shorunke. Today, we're going to be peeking into the crystal ball of the future of work, jobs that don't exist yet, but will exist when you graduate. Festus is here with us. He's here, but he's not here, but he's here. So he'll be hopping in and giving his insight as we go on. But as always, we have our good sir, the one, the only, that guy, Daniel Hill. Daniel, how you doing today?
Good. And y'all boys, how y'all doing today, man?
And we're doing good, man. We're doing good. We're on a little I didn't want to call it hiatus, but we took some weeks off. We had Mother's Day, and then my mother had a little birthday thing the week before that. So we've been ripping and running, but we are back and rolling as we head here to the halfway point of the season. Of the season of the year. Look at me, man. I'm all over the place. Of the year.
Same as Jordan in 95, ain't it?
Yeah, I know, right? Man, you get the Jumpman logo off of that thing, man. But speaking of Jumpman greatness, we have the once formerly, soon to be now officially stamped, certified USDA processed grade A quality Dr. Crawford in the house. How you doing today, my good sir? Dr. Crawford. Feels good to say Dr. Crawford, the good doctor.
Hercules.
Y'all crazy, man. It feels good to be here, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Oh man, so good, so proud of you, love you, so thankful for just your life and the hard work that you've put in to attain this wonderful achievement. Daniel just said, what did he say? The singer formerly known as Crawford. Beautiful, well said. I agree with it wholeheartedly. Got to get one of them signs like Prince did. Ow. Yeah, but we're just super thankful and super glad that you're a part of our team and what we do here. And so we just know that this is going to be the start to something even greater on top of what you've already been doing. So we love you, and we're just super proud of you. Super proud of you.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, folks, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about the changing landscape of work. All right, and so in doing some research, I found some things that were pretty crazy. It just kind of shows to how fast this is moving. 85% of the jobs that will exist in the year 2030, so that's 5 years from now, 85% of the jobs that are going to exist in 2030, they haven't even been created yet. That means there are whole new networks and career clusters and fields that haven't even been created, and we're 5 years away from that. By 2030, 170 million new roles will emerge. So that means there's going to be 170 new roles, new jobs that are going to be available, but 92 million jobs are going to disappear. So that means there's going to be a net gain of about 78 million jobs. That's going to be a huge shift. Also, and I think the last two stats I got were from the World Economic Forum. This one also is from the World Economic Forum. It says 65% of the children entering primary school today are going to work in jobs that don't even exist yet. So that means kids that are in, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, they're going to be working in jobs that aren't even available or around. So we're talking about things similar or around, or things that are, let me not say that. We're talking about things that are already slowly coming up, right? So we got roles like AI ethicists, augmented reality architects, climate restoration specialists, digital detox therapists, which when I read about that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So there's going to be a lot of change that's happening in the not so distant future. So my first question for everybody is like, what does that mean for students right now? Like, what do we have to do to get students prepared for what's coming?
I think just getting information out there like this platform is doing, making people aware And then after making people aware, equipping them with the information, knowledge, and tools so they can adequately prepare. Based on what you're saying, it's a lot of current positions that are here now will become extinct in the future. And so that's making the public aware of that, giving them access to that information, like where can they go find information on what maybe future careers would be in development. And so they can just start preparing future forward. And one thing we definitely want to do is prevent students from making career paths and making educational decisions based on careers that may be declining in the future, you know? So getting that information out there, that's what I think.
So one of the things I thought I saw that was pretty interesting was, and we're going to be talking about this. This may be a two-part that we do this week and next week, is jobs that were very routine or jobs that were very easily automated jobs that people had in the past. Things like low risk jobs like cashiers, administrative assistants, even some low level like creative type roles, right? A lot of those jobs are going to go away. Part of that, however many millions of jobs that were going to be removed, those are those jobs that are going to be removed now, in the not so distant future. AI can do a lot of those jobs already. And AI is already becoming almost not monetized, but you can schedule it to do these things for you. You can schedule it to pull certain things and create schedules for you. So the need for things like administrative assistants and things like that are going to be obsolete in the not so distant future. And so I remember, when we were in high school, people easily could have said things like, man, I just got a job here. I'll just get a job at this fast food place, or I'll just get a job helping out with this. A lot of those jobs, you're not going to have that wiggle room, for students right now that are in high school. Also, the thing that also came to mind, which is very, very key, is that jobs which require people to be more personal, jobs that require people to have more interpersonal ability, be able to connect on a more interpersonal level, those jobs are going to be high in demand. And so one of the things I also wanted to pose to everybody is, in this 21st century, when people are more distant than they were previously, how will that new generation, how will they create those skills to be able to work in those fields where now you're going to have, there's more interpersonal, your strengths are going to have to be stronger in those interpersonal things. One of the things I was thinking about was, whenever I go to Kava, whenever I go to get food, the younger folks, right, the Gen Zers, just the way that they interact with me is different to kind of see. I think for a lot of millennials, we still kind of had that respect for everybody, but I noticed with a lot of Gen Zers, they're very they're blunt, but they're not blunt in a disrespectful way. They're just blunt because that's just how they are. They're just very oh yeah, this is that, you can't do that. Or, they're very quick to make random observations. I don't want to say they don't think before they speak. I think they do think before they speak, or maybe they don't as much as we did, but they're quick to just make quick remarks, quick observations, and they just speak on them. And so that's one of the things I was thinking about, one of the things I want to ask you about. Sorry, Festus, you were out, but what I posed to everybody was just, with all these jobs that are going to be lost in the next 5 years, and all the jobs that are going to be created. So basically we have a net gain of 78 million jobs, and 85% of the new jobs that are going to be created aren't even out yet. And so my main question for everybody was what does that mean for people? What does that mean for young people?
I'll speak on that, but Festus, go ahead, bro. You get that's
Go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead.
I know you said they more blunt, or they just say it right off bat, but that's bad business. And that's why some of them can't keep jobs, because you can't just let your intrusive thoughts always speak, bro. you gotta hold them in sometimes, and you gotta learn how to be respectful. Like that's why you see them people going back getting older. Like you go to jobs, you see older generations working younger jobs. Sometimes not even because they broke. It's just because people calling them back to do the job because the other ones don't. And then they quick to speak, but then they sensitive at the same time. So you have to learn how to watch it. Like the Bible talk about watching your tongue, bro. You gotta speak. You can't just let everything because the scripture said even a fool sounds smart. No, if a fool sings smart, if he keeps his mouth closed. You know what I'm saying? So you should not just always like think about it, if we just always say what's on our mind as teachers. I did most time, and I probably got in trouble. Crawford always being afflicted for both of us, especially for you. He's fit for you all the time. But often they'll, what's it mean? Above and beyond meetings, Shorunke say something like, what he means is,
hey, man, guys working on me, bro.
Yeah, you just can't speak everything that's because you have to learn. Because if you just always speak, like one dude told me one time, he's like, how can you get understanding if you always speaking to say whatever? You have to sit down, listen, get understanding. Then you might be able to say something. Most time, bro, just don't say everything that pops in your head. It's gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Love it. Go ahead, Festus.
Yeah, I think I'll touch on what Daniel said and then kind of give a different take on how it's going to impact education. So, for the most part, I think what Daniel said is true. It's going to be the social skills that dominate. Why? Because when people can easily communicate with somebody and share with somebody, the interactions are going to increase. And so what happens is when you have good social skills and things become like, oh man, this is frustrating or that's frustrating, people are going to interact with those who is easier to interact with more. So let's say, for example, and I'll give an example of cryptocurrency. Like a lot of this stuff is going digital cashless. You know, I just got an email, put your social security card on this. Just check it. I said, oh man, like these digital wallets are on another level. I don't trust none of y'all. And so
that's us.
Yeah, SSA, you know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, so when you look at that and you say, dang, well, this well-known company is saying, hey, look, this is the level of government access we have. You know what I'm saying? It's an indicator of something. And so now you have that younger generation that's saying, okay, I know the information, but I don't necessarily have the social skills yet, right? And they also don't have the information that connects the dots. You see what I'm saying? And so when you have the social skills and you say, oh man, I'm able to get with this teacher, this mentor, this, you know, this this big bro, this auntie, this, you know what I'm saying? And they're able to give you certain stuff to fill in the gaps, you're going to have a competitive advantage that don't, you know, against those that don't. And so I think what's going to end up happening is some mom and pop businesses that embrace AI, small business, they're going to actually have a much higher competitive advantage than bigger businesses. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of bigger businesses that actually be disrupted. They're going to start falling by the wayside. And we've already seen it. You know, so when you got, you know, these different trade wars and all this other stuff going on, now you don't have to be the big brand to have a good bottle or the good whatever. You just have to know branding and marketing well. And so to your point about like, hey, administrative assistant, the administrative assistant's going to have to operate like an executive assistant. You see what I'm saying? Because now it's like, yo, you got this technology. I expect more out of you because I don't need you writing blogs. I don't need you doing this, that, and the third. The AI could do that. I need you thinking. And if you can't think on my level of what needs to be done, you see what I'm saying? It's going to be a whole different category and ball game. And so, especially if you copping and catching attitudes with those who are trying to help you get there. You see what I'm saying? So this is where, to me, my heart goes out to the hood because a lot of those normative behaviors, right, aren't going to be acceptable to those who are in those new categories, because AI is going to make people make money faster than ever. You see what I'm saying? You could, before, it would take you 10, 15 years to become $1 million company. Now you could do it in 5, you could do it in 3, you could do it in 1. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
You can already tell this is a W. This is a WW chat. I'm loving this. This is a winning chat right here. One of the things you had mentioned that I thought was really key was your administrative assistant is no longer going to be working as an administrator, almost like an executive. And I remember a conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago where I was like, in order to grow, you have to build your capacity, right? So if you think about a bottle, and the bottle requires you, let me not give no free work to Fiji, but if the bottle, if you're required to do, if what you can handle is this much, but you're needed to do something like with this, you have to grow in capacity. And it's almost like a force. Obviously, COVID has exacerbated a lot of this, right? To where at the blink of an eye, our whole world was changing from our even entire home standpoint. We couldn't go out, a lot of us, you know what I mean? And so we saw this huge shift almost happen almost overnight. And so you're seeing folks having to learn to increase in capacity. Hill, you brought up a great point about folks who are older having to come back because of their ability to interact with people better, right? Simply put. And because of that, Festus, I always think about pathways, right? Like, I like working with this person because I feel good, right? They say things that make me feel good. They treat me like a human. And so these young folks not being able to do that, and you mentioned the hood as well, and that's one of the constant conversations we're always having is just I don't want to say the dichotomy, but just the growing separation between the haves and the have-nots. And when we say it's not about money, it's about intellectual, right? It's about what you know. And so I just love that. It's a great foundation for the conversation we're going to be having today. One of the things, obviously, that we know, Festus, to your point again about being an administrative assistant to an executive assistant, is now going to be skill sets. And so one of the things you have been really honing in on recently have been career clusters, right? And just think about having career clusters in areas where there are no careers yet. There are no jobs and no roles. But to your point, Festus, that even goes to show the greater importance of career clusters, and at least knowing where you're around, right? So when that new thing does come in, it's like, I got this, I got that. So adaptability is going to be that much more important.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay once again. These days, many families are busy, but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
So it's a twofold question. How important are career clusters now that we know that there are so many jobs, millions of jobs that are going to be created in the next 5 years? And I think we've already kind of answered this question, but I just want us to go deeper into it. Is it still better to be a master of one, or is versatility more valuable? Is it coming back to that? Or I kind of think it's always been there, but is it becoming that much more valuable to be, very diverse in your skill set?
So the biggest thing is not mastery of many, but mastery of self, right? And so the thing is, a lot of people, the thing is with this AI thing, the question is, it's the simple question: what came first, the chicken or the egg? Right? Come on, it's obvious, right? That should be an obvious statement. You have to have the chicken in order to have the egg. But by admitting that, there's certain flows of thought process that go in with that. So, meaning, what came first, the AI or the human? The human. So when you're developing artificial intelligence, it follows a lot of human needs and passions. The only difference with artificial intelligence that is significant is that because of the computing power and the internet, you're able to take the functions, because AI is actually built after basically human neural nets. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it's based off of those 5 senses. So the thing is, what ends up happening is by putting those into computers and putting them into the internet, you're able to get those to function at all times in different places. Whereas us, we go to sleep. Now the AI could be in Hong Kong. It could be in, you see what I'm saying? Because why? It's just taking and using data. And the thing is, when you look at human beings, all it is data. I'm hot, I'm cold, I feel this way, I feel that way. But again, if we don't master ourselves, we don't know our emotions. We don't have that emotional intelligence. We don't have the financial literacy. We don't have these different deep internal know-hows of even mastering our own desires. That's where you get took. Why? Because again, we already see it. The algorithm's coming in and telling the girls they don't look good. They need to make up, commit suicide if you edit that out. But commit, whatever, if you don't look and feel this kind of way. They've already researched this. They've researched this. The research is out there that they say, oh, when somebody's looking sad in their camera, it's going to show on makeup.
Wow.
So yeah. So see, this is the thing. So the problem is, if we sitting up here watching TikTok videos and learning dances, instead of saying, let me look internal to see how I could change, how I could grow, and like you said, build my internal capacity.
Yeah.
Because human beings have unlimited potential to a huge degree, but we limit ourselves by limiting beliefs. We limit ourselves by lack of faith. We limit ourselves by lack of connectedness and sharing information and those different types of things. We limit ourselves by building walls up and having biases and all of those different types of things. You know what I mean? And I get where people are trying to come from with this tolerance and all that stuff, even though all that stuff is coming out of secular humanism, and it's coming out of a form of computer theology, right? Where the computer is now your God. But you have to understand that there's somebody sitting on the other side of that screen typing things up, But anyway, let me stop there because I'm soapboxing. So
I haven't had a good Festus soapbox in a while. It feels good. Now we're
Don't
officially
stop.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Go. Floor is open, guys. Go ahead, man. So remember, we're talking about career clusters, and is it still important or how much more important is it to be a jack of all trades, or should you kind of just stick to what you know?
I think if we have the mindset of becoming lifelong learners or being lifelong learners, I think everyone will be all right. In that sense, if you're have that open mindset to always continually learn, you can always adapt with whatever's coming in the future with new technology and things of that nature. But if we get stuck in our current phase and okay, I'm a jack of this particular trade and this is what I know, but we're closed-minded, then you might not even have mastery in that particular field no more, because regardless of what it is, whether it's being an electrician, a teacher, a doctor, or any other career path out there, if you like, hey, I've mastered this and I'm no longer going to continuously learn the new things that are coming out that could push this particular career path forward, then you will get left behind if you're a jack of that trade or if you're a jack of many trades. So I think it's just real important to adopt the mindset or the ideology of becoming lifelong learners in any craft or field.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So one of the things that I put down in my notes here, it's aligned with what, Crawford, you and Festus said, is I believe knowing your purpose is crucial, right? When you find what blends your passion and skills, then you master it. And I thought about being Edu, and I thought about, this is going to sound bad, but I mean, it's it's not meant to sound bad, but I thought about asking kids or high school students about their values, their principles, and their characteristics. And students looking and thinking to themselves, like I did at that time, like, what's a value again? Like, what is a value? Like, what truly is a value? Or what is truly a principle? Or what truly are my characteristics? And just the idea of having a young person be introduced to themselves. Miles Monroe said that one day, and it stuck with me. And the way he said it just was so profound to me was, I had never heard anyone say, have you ever been introduced to yourself? And it created this level of introspection that I had never been able to have. And so I thought about, just our be no do process, doing things like the Ikigai, and how it helps young people just figure out who they are, who they truly are. Not who society's kind of told you to be, but what are your talents? What are your true skills? What are your true talents? What are your true abilities? And how do you use those things to find a purpose-filled life, to find a profession, a passion, a mission that aligns with who you are as a person? And I think you're slowly starting to see organizations, communities, school districts to move towards there. And the funny thing is, squad, the funny thing is they're close, but they ain't got it. It's so funny. We've been doing this for almost 10 years. If this were a baby, oh my gosh, the baby would be your son. Festus is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And I'll tell you right now, he's like in the 90th percentile of 7-year-olds. He's dense, just like what we got. And it's so funny because it's like they're close. They're really, really close, but they're not hitting it the exact way that they should. They're really, really close. But that's another story for
this is the thing. It's the reason why they're probably not going to make it is because they're removing an essential element to human beings, which is worship, right? And so because of trying to separate religion, you separate faith, and when you separate faith, you separate an essential element of the human experience, which is worship. And so that's why it's always going to come off. And I get it, because it's very difficult to try to at scale respect other people's faiths and at the same time build in them something. So this is where we see that we as a society are being socially engineered, right, by these different things. So first it was tolerance, then it's acceptance and ally, and then it's ultimately the computer's your answer. Whatever the computer gives you, whatever the algorithm tells you, that's your answer. So you feel that rebellion of the tension between what I know to be true and what I'm trying to discover in and of myself and for myself, and what you keep on trying to shove down my throat. And there's a tension there. And so unfortunately, I think there's always going to be that gap. And this is one of the reasons why I think LYS is so critical and why it must exist, right? Despite all the hardship and all the pain and all the money and all the, shout out to our esteemed help all over, these guys here believing in what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Worldwide. Because again, I think we found a way to kind of address that gap. You know what I'm saying? And there's ways we're going to address it even deeper in the future. So I want to offer value to the people, though. I think what Dr. Crawford was saying is immensely true about becoming a lifelong learner. So many people are trying to brain dump, and brain dumping worked in the past. I got the answer to the test is finished. Now I could go on and just be mindless. And the test of life never ends. You see what I'm saying? So until we start developing that mindset of being lifelong learners and saying, hey, last week you could do that, this week you can't. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have some hardship.
Man, wonderfully said. Absolutely. Wonderfully said. So let's jump into the second part of what we're going to talk about, which is what skills will matter the most, right? And so I just want to go over some stats, and then we're going to talk about some things. With all this change that's happening, I want to talk a little bit about what are the skills students need to focus on. The research says that 57% of teens are worried about finding a good job in the future. Many students are caught in between the whole follow your dreams thing and go where the money is, which I think that conversation is even bigger than what it was in the past. Outside of tariff talk and inflation talk, it's to live a comfortable life, at least in America, is getting harder, right? It's requiring more in order to do so. But people are, I think the question is, if you're going to put it in a secular standpoint, is like the whole follow your dreams thing and where the money is, where's something that lies in the middle between those two? We've heard a lot about AI, data analytics, cybersecurity. Also talked about a lot of the creativity and that adaptability and problem solving that's going to be needed. They said about 40% of the job skills are going to change by 2030. Not jobs, but job skills. 44% of the workers are going to have to reskill or upskill in the next 5 years. Technical skills are important, but like we said before, also human skills, resilience, flexibility, creative thinking, and of course, digital literacy. By 2030, again, 25% of global digital jobs are going to be fully remote. That's a quarter of global digital jobs are going to be fully remote, meaning like you're just working at home. And so, or you're working not in an office but with other people. So being comfortable with tech and virtual collaboration is going to be important. One of the things to note is Gen Z is very entrepreneurial and very digital native. They were digital natives, right? When they were born, they had the internet. You're starting to see a lot of students start side hustles in high school, whether it's making beats, selling their skills, selling art and as NFTs, editing videos for small businesses, jobs that really didn't exist when we were younger. So what skills do y'all feel are going to be the most necessary for these young people that are coming up, right? With all this change that's happening. And I also want to think about it from a mindset of, let's look at our inner schools. Think about, the last high school you saw and what's really happening out there when they're going to enter the real world. What are they missing? Because on the other side of the tracks, those kids got those skills, right? Those kids know those things. Or let me say, they're being presented with a more robust, diverse view of a lot of these things. Not to play the blame game or anything, it's just, it is what it is. I hate to use that in the sense, but it really is. And so what are those skills that these young people need to be able to keep up with this?
I definitely want to hear from Dr. Crawford on this one, because he's in the mix of it all. You know what I'm saying?
In the thick.
Excuse me. I would say what's really needed will be critical thinking and problem solving skills, because that can apply in any situation in whatever career path they're trying to adjust and go to. I feel like that's the real issue here with some students, or most students that I encounter, the lack of being able to problem solve, to think critically. How can I take the situation that I'm dealt with to do what I need to do on my part to advance forward? It's almost as if they sit there and want you to tell them what to do. But in the real world, when it comes to careers and job outlooks changing and things of that nature, no one's going to sit there and spell it out for them. So to put it simple, problem solving, critical thinking.
Man, I think, and it's crazy that you say that. I think one of the things that a lot of these young people don't understand is that way of approaching information is actually the perfect way of being taken advantage of. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, take advantage of me. I don't want to think for myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, is that you got to really, really look at is like, hey, what incentive do people have to act morally and ethically? Especially when the incentives benefit them to do the opposite. You know what I'm saying? The moral and ethical thing to do is be like, yo, you're not thinking critically.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. If there's one thing I love, it's something free. I'm talking free 99. un gratis. No shipping or handling fees, no gotcha fees, nothing like that. With that being said, if you're graduating soon or thinking about college or need a nudge or help to decide, then our free ebook, 10 Things to Think About Before Going to College, has a very balanced and open-minded way of presenting your next steps. It captures broad topics in a personal way by giving students an insightful, interactive, and reflective source of inspiration. It is very beneficial to be able to visualize some of the concepts after high school and apply them directly to you. We all know life, college, and career planning decision-making choices for students can be challenging, especially as they near the completion of high school. This book will provide you with a self-paced guide to your success beyond academics and into real life. Not only is it free, you can complete this book within a week. This will definitely prepare you for long-term success. To get your free copy, simply go to lys.com/students. I mentioned it was free, right? Well, if I didn't, it's free. Like, for real, for real. Okay, back to the podcast.
Quickly here, let me dive in with this. And the reality is, if somebody's like, yo, I could pay this person, I could pay you $15, $20 an hour, and I could pay this person $5. And we're seeing it now. We're seeing people get multiple remote jobs, hire people in foreign countries to do those jobs, right? And then get paid on the Nexus. We're seeing that. Where people, you feel where I'm coming from. So we're seeing that. And so now this is why so many young people are going to be bypassed if they don't wake up and pay attention. What's that? Wake up,
everybody. What song are you trying to sing?
Oh, no. What song? You thinking of? I know what you're thinking of. You're thinking of Wake Up Everybody. I was thinking of the one from Sister Act with Lauryn Hill. Gotta wake up and pay your attention. What is that? But anyway, oh man. But this is why I think it's so critical to education leaders to listen to conversations like this and have conversations like this, because what is really going to hurt youth, what's really going to hurt youth, and whole entire neighborhoods, whole entire countries are going to succumb to not having these conversations and trying to protect institutions. The countries and the people that have these conversations and adapt quickly are going to be the ones to succeed, because they're going to be able to leapfrog many situations and things and people. So they're going to start integrating AI into the classroom. There was a school district here in Texas. They integrated AI tutoring, and all the grades went up by 92%. And why is that? Because it goes back to something else. Personalized learning. And so when you have a personalized learning model that is able to present the information, then yeah, I can, you see what I'm saying? I can excel. But now here's the catch. This is where you're headed to the matrix, because when you're dealing with people and just information models and not talking about traditions, not talking about culture, not talking about history, not talking about all of these things, right? That's where you lose your individuality and personhood. Because again, I'm not saying every tradition is right or every culture is right or anything like that, but there's a lot of things tied up into that. So I should bring it. My brother came by and I had his little baggie, right? And the baggie got some green stuff inside, and it got some seed. My brother said, "Hey man, what's this?" And I said, it's I think it's called zatar. Zatar is a rat. And he's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, it's some herbs. You put some olive oil in it. You eat it with bread." He said, "Dang, so you got two different cultures." You see what I'm saying? You got two different cultures. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, again, you only know that difference. You see what I'm saying? With the exposure, and that's something that people like. Now, here's the crazier part. About a year ago, another guy told my car, I was having a car problem, told my car, seen that bag in my car. And the first thing out of his mouth, after he told my car, set it down, he came to me and said, "Are you Muslim?" I said, "Nah." He said, "Oh, I seen the thing in your car." And so this is where cultural meaning,
Wow.
you don't get that from AI. You don't get that from
Yeah,
computers. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
You get that from living life around people. And
Hmm.
so the thing is, when we're not having these cultural connections and we're not having these exchanges, these social exchanges, you see what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yeah.
We stay in that little box. And so this is where, again, I commend Dr. Crawford on just like, hey, be a critical thinker, a lifelong learner, learn to ask questions. You know what I'm saying? A lifelong learner is just somebody who asks a lot of questions because not everything's found in a book or on earth.
And especially for young people, man, thank you so much for that, Festus. Especially for young people, do not get down in the dumps when you have, those classmates or whoever who tease you for being a very inquisitive person. That was the thing that happened to me a lot, where I asked a lot of questions, almost too many questions. And a lot of people used to give me a hard time about it. But that was just my natural curiosity, which we all have, comes out. And it's very easy, I think, nowadays. I notice it a lot from teaching, is to see young people just shut down right in front of you because of outside pressure of not wanting to be made fun of. And one of the funniest things I used to tell my students is, I guarantee you, whatever question you have, no matter how dumb it sounds, someone else has that same question. I guarantee you someone else has that same question. Only thing is, it's the one who has the courage to ask that question when it's brought up, right? And so definitely a note that I want young people to take. So we're going to get into our last topic here, which is student mindset and school preparation. We kind of hit on it already, but just want to go over some facts and just talk a little bit more about what students are seeing and what schools and communities can do. Studies show that Gen Z is anxious about the future. I could have told you that, especially about finding the right career and gaining the right skills. About 70% of high schoolers, that's 7 out of 10, wish they had more career exploration opportunities. Recently we had the wonderful opportunity to work with U of H students, University of Houston students, for a program that they did. And I actually called one of them today before we did the cast. And I said, hey man, go back to when you were in high school. What were your biggest worries? And he told me, he said, not being qualified enough, not having enough resources. He really thought about looking for a trade school job because he really didn't know exactly where to go, what to do. And he said not having hands-on experience with some jobs really kind of things he was kind of worried about. But luckily, he had a program at the school where, he could kind of see a little bit more about what people do in particular career fields. And he said that really helped him out. And I know some other students, they're probably worried about picking their own path, whether they'll get their degree, whether they think if their degree is going to be enough. And so I know that those are some issues or some questions that a lot of young folks are asking. So I had a question here. All right, so some students are looking more at trade school or worried about not having hands-on experience. So luckily, there's a report that shows students in lower income schools are 60% less likely to have access to future-focused CTE pathways, right? So what do you think we can do to close that gap for young people? What can schools do, to close that gap for young people?
Can you read that one more time for me?
That last stat?
Yeah, can you read those few little stats again for me?
Sure. So students in lower income schools are 60% less likely to have access to future-focused CTE pathways, right? Some of the things that my student was talking about, our student that worked with us from U of H told us was worried about not being qualified enough, worried about not having enough resources, not having hands-on experience, he said was probably the biggest thing, right? So that's probably one of the first things to answer, right? Having more hands-on experience. But what else can schools do to close this gap?
I think what they can do to close gap is incorporating information throughout, or if we use like real world problem solving skills within the content, that's a easy way to introduce students to these certain career paths and career skills daily through integration of real world problems. So if we have an issue and we're trying to solve this issue and the subject is math or social studies or English, whatever it may be, that's where we can explore some of that. So there's a lack of ignorance on the student standpoint to where they're now aware of this information. And then when we have upper grade levels, let's have information of, okay, well, how do we do research upon said career so we can have information on it, like the job outlook? Is it projected to grow? Is it projected to decline? What are the skills required to be able to do said career or job successfully? What are the qualities needed? What are the education needed? Or what are the trainings that are needed to be able to do said careers? So I feel like giving people more information to where on the schools end, they are exposing their students to this information, to variety of these different careers and things of that nature. And then at that end, that's where the students will have to just become critical thinkers, problem solvers. Oh, if I'm interested in this, who can I talk to on this campus that could point me in the direction to provide me with more resources? Having all of that information, but again, the teachers have to have this information and the pedagogies of how to incorporate these things into their daily instruction to be able to expose their students to this. Because when we talk about the low SES students and what you were saying, they're not exposed to these certain things. The teachers are tasked with, okay, I got to teach this, I got to teach this, I got to teach this, and they're just teaching straight content. But the students are growing up and having ignorance to the vast careers that are out there that might meet or capture their interest.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I agree with some stuff. Well, most of it, like what he was talking about, how like we have to get them, but at the same time, the kids have to want it. Like that's what, like even Festus was talking about, because I remember Crawford teaching stuff, but sometimes they didn't want it. Like I give you an example. One kid's sister was asking for his brother to get help. The brother needed help, but he didn't want the help when we was gonna give him the help. Y'all see people come to me, I send them to y'all, then they don't want to take the help. But then they mad at the let's be honest, the white people. When if I tell a white person calling you and trying to get the information. So we can say like the AI stuff to implement it, was that in a mostly white school or black school? Like you were talking about Festus, the school, the scores go up, or what? I don't know what type of school it was or where it was, but I'm saying like it all depends on the person. Like we might teach kids, like Crawford said one time, a long time ago, AI is the help. Now people are just copying and pasting. And like you said, they done. When it's time to actually get in the real world, that's not going to work. You can get 100 on all your tests because you cheated to be a doctor. But when you got to open up that patient, what you going to do then? That person going to be dead. We could blame society, but at the end of the day, what my school had more technology than any other school. You know what I'm saying? Before Katie and I. So it's all about the kids. Like I can tell a kid to come do it, but if the kid only comes to school 2 days out the week, not because he's struggling, not because he's even poor, just because he don't feel like it. So I can't give you resources if you're not coming to get the resources and you live right across the street. You know what I'm saying? So, and you wearing J's, and you got a $1,200 phone that was not passed down because it's the iPhone 56, whatever it is. But like Crawford said, we got to put more into information into schools, but we got to make sure we got to teach, because right now they're just teaching kids. Like I told people the other day, I said, because we was in a meeting and I straight up said, they were, oh no, I said, no, y'all too sensitive on these kids. All we are doing is sending kids to jail and hell. That's all we're doing. Yeah, I mean, that's all we. Am I lying? All our kids, all we tell them. I tell my kids this last 9 weeks, this last 2 weeks, I said, look here, I done taught y'all for 8 months ethics. I'm not teaching y'all ethics anymore. It's all consequences, because y'all gonna learn before you leave this classroom. that there's real consequence in life, and everybody else still gonna have fun. So I got kids sitting outside the door, bro. You not coming in this class, bro. If I get fired, I get fired. But I gotta make sure these kids understand. I don't want to go to jail because people keep giving you chance and chance and chance and chance after. And in life, you hit somebody, you're going to jail. You're not getting a second chance most time. If you do not get this knowledge by this grade, time you at the high school is pretty much done because you can't catch up 6 years of critical thinking like Crawford been trying to teach his kids. Like Crawford was always on it. I used to tell people, I think I said something about that the other day. I was like, yeah, Crawford always did that. Crawford always did that. And everybody else tried to switch over, but he stayed on the path and people say something about, but Crawford didn't give a thing. Crawford like, and yes, but data, it'd be so funny. And I'd be silent. But no, we have to be honest with ourselves in our community. Who are we gonna let speak to these kids? Are we gonna let people who so focus on politics and not teach them critical thinking, but talking about how all people hate you? Or are we gonna bring people in there like Crawford and y'all who coming in and talking about, hey, you gotta think like this. Yes, the world might be hard, but you still gotta do it. Yes, this might be hard, but you still gotta do it. Or are we gonna bring people in who talking about, oh, you can't do it because of this? You can't do it. They get critical thinking of ignorance instead of knowledge, if that makes sense. I'm done on my soapbox, man. like you said.
Nah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I think I'll speak from maybe a little bit higher level of like policy and industry. You know what I'm saying? I think the laws are going to have to change in a way that allows particularly small businesses and medium businesses to participate in the education system. So when you look at it, there are organizations, shout out to Genesis Works, shout out to Bridgeyear, that are already doing this, where they'll say, hey, look, you got these tech skills, and they get these kids from high school and they come and do college credit, or you just college credit as they work a job. So they're paid $15 an hour, or they're paid a certain amount per hour as they're doing a job. So as they're doing a job, they're getting paid, but they're also getting credit. Well, that's good when you're doing it at a job with 20,000 employees, 15,000 employees, even 1,000 employees. But what ends up happening to these small and medium businesses that have 2, 4, 5, and 10 employees, those are the jobs that are more than likely ready to hire that kid straight out of high school. You see what I'm saying? That big job is going to say, you need this credential, this license, this credential, this much experience before you could come up in here. And so the lawmakers are going to have to sit down with industry and some of the chambers of commerce and whatnot and say, look, okay, the same way that kid could go into your big business and get credit, they could also go into the small business and get credit and get paid. And we're gonna subsidize some of that payment. So instead of maybe giving the school that entire amount for educating your kid, they're gonna say, hey, this job gets a certain amount of tax credits by taking in so many of these kids, or something like that. You see what I'm saying? And incentivize those things. Because if you don't do that, what ends up happening is, which is already happening, kids are being educated on 10 and 15-year-ago skills in the schools, while the jobs are working on AI and those different types of things. So if you, again, the parents who can afford certain programs and certain, Code Ninja and, the little code thing around the corner and those engineering courses and the engineering packets in the house, those kids are going to be in a totally different category than excuse me, but Pookie and Ray Ray and them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just gonna be different. So until we start to think this way at an institutional level, and the superintendents start to sit down with the lawmakers and say, hey, I need some innovative programming. How can we now convert part of our schools to job training programs and bring in some of these small, medium businesses? And maybe there's a way they could get donations back, or something like that. That we're gonna have a hard road ahead of us.
Man, wonderful. Man, really, really good points. As I'm trying to put it all together. But just to see that there's definitely a lot of opportunity there in regards to like what's available for young people. But as I mentioned earlier, just that divide of the have and the have nots is going to continue to grow unless we really start to take these things into consideration and really start to think about how we can close these gaps and create these opportunities for students. Hill, I thought about what you said when you said, you just keep them out the classroom. And man, there's so many things that still really need to be done. The one thing that keeps coming to my mind is just that connection between, the school system and families, and just how I just remember how when I was teaching, it wasn't, with some parents, it was a good relationship where there was like, we would work together to help the student. But a lot of times, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, it seems a lot more now that it's like the parents versus the teacher. Like, the teacher is good until he or she does something that they feel isn't in the best interest. And of course, you're going to have disagreements, but and everyone's different. I try to always make sure that I let them know from the get-go, this was my goal for the students. This is where I want us to get to, and this is how we're going to try and get there. But then it slowly became a thing of your child is doing, students doing this, students doing that. It's hard to kind of function and get this going. And you might be asking, like, how does this affect, what you're talking about? But it's not just the school, it's not just the teacher to the parent, it's the school system, kind of like what you were saying, Festus, in regards to like just how school systems and things like how they create those opportunities for small business, for larger business, for medium-sized business to be involved in schools. It's about building community. And so I think those who have stronger communities, those are the ones where, you're going to see a lot more success. You're going to see a lot more of those things being hampered out, those things being handled. Whereas those where you don't really have a lot of that community building, a lot of that connectiveness, that's where you're going to see more of those issues. So definitely a topic that we're going to keep our eyes on, and something that requires a lot of attention, because it's the future. And future is such a vague, almost kind of way to put it, because it's 5 years away. We're talking about it, and just as fast as things move, we say 5, it's probably really 3. If we're being honest.
The thing is, it's already happening.
Yeah,
it's already happening. So this is why it's so important. And this is the thing that gets me, particularly around today's political climate, is that the same person who's telling you don't listen to X, Y, and Z, should not talk to X, Y, and Z, is also talking to X, Y, and Z. That's how they know their ideology is different. That's how they know things are not the same. And so what's happening is, because people are so emotionally caught up and they're not thinking like, hey man, wait a second. So the same, Agent Orange was talking about, is who's helping middle America, right? And helping the truck drivers, is now doing the AI stuff. Which is it? He's for his billionaire buddies, or is he for middle America who voted for him? And see, the thing is, if you're not the person who doesn't say, hey, I want to hear from both of you all, because I got to make a decision on how I live either way. You see what I'm saying? That person's going to have a totally different mindset. And to me, that's where I think we should be at, is critically listening to each person's policy and what implications does that have. Because again, to the person who's in the hood, AI is going to be very, very helpful. How so? Because that computer engineering job that you couldn't get, now you could literally just say, build me a website. It's done. But then the critical reasoning that you need to say, how do I maintain the website? How do I market the website? How do I brand the website? All of those different types of things, that comes from somewhere else. And I've seen this time and time again, where there's a certain level of creativity, stick-to-itiveness, of grit that comes from the person who grew up in the streets, who then go to college, and they out here hustling. And it's like, yo, they built something for themselves. But then on the flip side, they need to hire the educated person. It's just like Bill Gates. See, this is the thing people don't. This is why you got to look at people's autobiographies and all this other stuff. Bill Gates, he dropped out of college, but his dad was also a multimillionaire and influential in Seattle. So the thing is, yes, he dropped out of college, but he had daddy's money to rely on. Some people don't have daddy's money to rely on. So while you sitting up here telling everybody, hey man, you don't need college, you can go do this. No, you need to get as much education and information as you can stick between them ears. You know what I'm saying? And whether it's formal education in a classroom or YouTube or a book, you need to get it all. You know what I'm saying? And so, we got to look at things differently, and we got to be able to sit down and listen critically and say, okay, if they make this move, I'm making that move. If they make that move, I'm making this move. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, I love this episode. I think it's a great episode. Yeah, I miss you guys.
Absolutely.
Hey, my guy, on it today, baby. You got me in it too, baby. That's what I'm talking. Hey, but what you said was right, because the same people who talk about other people doing the same thing, as y'all see what's happening to the, well, I'm not, like they say, this person do this, but then five months later, if you find the person who say they was doing the same thing, but they have excuse for that. Or like, we have to get people like, and I tell people, I don't work for these type of people, but then they work for them type of people. I actually heard what's his name? Farrakhan said, he said, I don't care what I have to do to feed my family. Man, I will pick up trash if I need to get where I need to be. He said, y'all better get to work. I don't need no more of this in the street, no more of this. I think that's the main thing. Stop just believing everything your favorite, I don't care if it's your favorite pastor say. That man ain't even read the Bible either, probably. So you have to focus on, like Festus said, like you have to listen to every point of view to get a true understanding of everything. If not, you just gonna fall down a rabbit hole one way and be just trapped.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Hear both sides. Hear both sides, definitely. Well, folks, so good to be back. Trust me, you missed it. Here's what we need from you. We want to hear from you. What future job would you love to see when you graduate? What skills do you think will matter the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments or tag us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to Edu Steps for more conversations on wherever you're listening to your podcast, or if you're watching us on YouTube, to help you navigate your educational journey. Please don't forget to visit ladderingyoursuccess.com for resources and for information on our different programs and ebooks and our full breadth of resources designed to help you build the skills you need no matter what the future holds. For Daniel Hill, the one and only, for the doc man, Dr. Give me the news, Dr. Jamarc Crawford. I'm Olay Shorunke. Festus, give him the phrase that pays, my good sir.
So listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. Hit that like button if you heard the episode and you're like, man, that was fire. Hit the share button with somebody who you know needs to hear this, and we will see you on the next episode.
You better share. I know someone knows someone out there who lost in that sauce. Share that episode. Share it out with them. Please.